The K-pop industry has always loved hip-hop, or at least its surface. The swagger, the posture, the scowl, the hand gestures that signal toughness without ever explaining what that toughness is rooted in. Over the years, this formula has been recycled so often that many fans no longer question it. They see baggy pants, aggressive body language, face coverings, and assume authenticity. But the truth is far more uncomfortable. What keeps happening in K-pop is not cultural exchange, not appreciation, and certainly not respect. It is repetition. It is branding. It is the same stereotypes repackaged with a bigger budget and a louder fandom willing to defend it at all costs. This is why recent comparisons between different idol groups have exploded into controversy. Some groups get dragged for a single moment caught on camera, while others build entire careers around the same visual language and walk away untouched. Fans argue about fairness, about double standards, about who gets cancelled and who doesn't. But that argument misses the real issue. This was never just about fashion choices or styling preferences. It is about performance identity. It is about reducing an entire culture into a set of easily digestible signals designed to read as cool to a global audience. When hip-hop is treated as a costume, intent stops mattering. Whether it's played off as a joke or sold as a serious concept, the result is the same. The culture becomes a prop. The industry profits, the idols perform, and the deeper meaning is erased. This pattern didn't appear overnight, and it won't disappear on its own. To understand why this keeps happening, and why the backlash always feels uneven, we need to look closer at how K-pop morality actually works, and who it truly protects. If you want to understand the real drama behind these scandals and why they keep repeating, make sure to subscribe, stay with me, and keep watching. One of the biggest illusions in K-pop is the idea that backlash is driven by consistent values. Fans like to believe that outrage equals accountability, that cancel culture exists to correct wrongdoing. In reality, K-pop morality is transactional. It activates only when it's convenient, easy to clip, and safe to weaponize without threatening someone's own favorites. That's why a single live stream can ignite mass condemnation while an entire career built on the same stereotypes continues uninterrupted. It's not about what was done, it's about how easy it is to package outrage. A short clip spreads faster than a long pattern. One moment, one headline, one apology creates a clean villain arc. Fans know exactly where to point their anger, how long to stay mad, and when to move on feeling morally superior. But when the issue is structural, when the problem is baked into branding, styling, performance direction, and social media content, outrage requires effort. It requires admitting that something people enjoy might be fundamentally flawed. And most fandoms would rather defend a concept than confront that discomfort. This is why comparisons between different groups always feel messy. Some idols become lightning rods because they made a mistake that was easy to isolate. Others escape scrutiny because their entire image is normalized through repetition. When something becomes routine, it stops being questioned. Appropriation doesn't look shocking anymore, it looks like a vibe. And once fans adopt that vibe as part of their identity, criticism stops being about culture and starts being framed as hate. The uneven backlash isn't accidental. It's the result of a system that rewards silence and punishes moments, not patterns. And as long as that system stays intact, the same controversies will keep resurfacing under new names, new faces, and new fandom defenses. There is a clear difference between a mistake and a strategy, and this is where the conversation becomes uncomfortable. A poorly thought out joke or a messy live stream can be explained through ignorance, immaturity, or bad judgment. It can still deserve backlash, but it exists as a moment. What is far harder to excuse is when the same set of stereotypes is used deliberately, repeatedly, and profitably as a group's defining identity. At that point, it stops being a slip-up and starts looking like a business plan. When companies build concepts around aggressive posturing, exaggerated toughness, and street-coded imagery, they are not experimenting. They are selling something they know will read instantly to a global audience. The scowls, the hunched shoulders, the constant hand gestures, the faux danger aesthetic are chosen because they are recognizable shortcuts. They signal hip-hop without requiring musical depth, cultural understanding, or historical context. The industry understands that these signals sell faster than substance. This is where fans often get defensive. They reduce the critique to clothes, insisting it's just fashion or personal style. But fashion alone is never the issue. It's the combination of styling, gestures, performance language, and symbolism that creates a caricature. When every element lines up to perform the same stereotype, the message becomes impossible to ignore. This isn't homage. It's packaging. The most telling part is how easily intention gets dismissed. "They didn't mean it" becomes the default defense. But that only highlights the problem. When idols are comfortable copying symbols they don't understand because they're treated as aesthetics, it proves how detached the performance is from reality. Real cultures are reduced to vibes. Real histories become props. And the industry keeps moving because the engagement numbers justify it. This is how appropriation becomes invisible. Once it's normalized, calling it out feels disruptive. And that discomfort is exactly what keeps the cycle going. At some point, responsibility shifts away from idols and lands squarely on the companies shaping them. These concepts don't appear by accident. They are storyboarded, approved, styled, choreographed, and marketed by adults who understand exactly what they are selling. When younger idols are pushed into aggressive, street-coded personas, it isn't artistic freedom. It is controlled rebellion designed to look dangerous without actually challenging anything. This is where the age factor becomes especially unsettling. Marketing toughness through teenage performers allows companies to sell intensity without maturity. Snarls replace skill. Posturing replaces presence. The illusion of rebellion is easier to manufacture than a genuine musical identity. Executives know that edgy aesthetics create engagement, and engagement creates loyalty, even if the substance underneath is thin. Fans often defend this as concept diversity or experimentation, but the repetition tells a different story. The same gestures, the same expressions, the same visual language appear across different groups because it's a template that works. Once one act is rewarded for it, the next wave copies it louder. Over time, this turns into a pipeline where stereotypes are taught, refined, and normalized as part of idol training. What makes this cycle especially resilient is how it reframes critique. Questioning the concept gets labeled as hate. Pointing out patterns gets dismissed as ignorance. Meanwhile, companies profit while idols carry the backlash. The system stays clean because responsibility is always diffused. By the time anyone looks closely, the branding has already been accepted as genre. And this is why the conversation can't stop at individual scandals. The real issue is structural. Until the industry stops using borrowed cultural signals as shortcuts, the same controversies will keep resurfacing under different names. What keeps this pattern alive is not confusion or ignorance. It is incentive. K-pop continues to recycle the same hip-hop-coded imagery because it reliably converts attention into profit. The industry has learned that swagger is easier to sell than substance, that posture travels faster than musical understanding, and that aggression reads as charisma to audiences trained to associate toughness with authenticity. As long as that formula works, there is no real motivation to change it. This is why the conversation always circles back to the same defenses. Fans are told to trust the vibe, to believe that confidence equals talent and that aesthetics equal artistry. When a performance leans heavily on scowls, exaggerated gestures, and borrowed symbolism, it is framed as presence rather than questioned as compensation. But real stage presence is not about doing the most. It is about control. It is about knowing when to pull back, when to push forward, and how to command attention without relying on visual shortcuts. That kind of presence takes time, discipline, and respect for the craft. Costumes do not. The danger of normalizing stereotypes as identity is that it lowers the bar for everyone involved. Companies no longer need to invest in deeper musical development when image does the work for them. Idols are trained to perform signals instead of skills, and fandoms are conditioned to defend those signals as personality. Over time, this creates an industry where criticism feels illegal and growth feels unnecessary. Everything becomes about protecting the brand rather than improving the art. What makes this especially frustrating is how predictable it all is. One group succeeds with the formula, another copies it louder, and the next generation inherits it as the default. By the time anyone questions the pattern, it has already been normalized as genre. At that point, calling it out is treated as disruption rather than analysis. But discomfort is not harm. Sometimes it is the clearest sign that something needs to be examined. Until K-pop stops treating hip-hop as a shortcut to cool, these dramas will keep repeating. Different idols, different companies, same arguments, same defenses. The industry will continue to profit, and audiences will continue to argue over moments instead of systems. The real question is whether fans are willing to look past the image and demand more than recycled toughness sold as depth. If you want more honest breakdowns of K-pop scandals, industry power games, and the uncomfortable realities behind idol branding, make sure you subscribe, hit like, share your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned. This conversation is far from over, and the next chapter is already unfolding.